Welcome to the Missionaries of God's Love. This is Pam. I invite you to find a quiet place without distractions. Take a few deep breaths to relax your body and mind and let God fill us with His presence. Today we're diving into how to ensure we are one of God's chosen ones. In Matthew 25:31 through 46, it reads, "When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort the people out, much as a shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting sheep to his right and goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Enter, you who are blessed by my Father, and here's why. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was homeless, and you gave me a room. I was shivering, and you gave me clothes. I was sick, and you stopped to visit. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then those sheep are going to ask, 'Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry and feed you, thirsty, and give you a drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to you?' Then the king will say, 'Whenever you did one of these things to someone, that was me. You did it to me.' Then he will turn to the goats and the ones on his left and say, 'Get out, worthless goats. And why? Because I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes, sick and in prison and you never visited.' Then those goats are going to ask, 'Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or shivering or sick or in prison and didn't help?' He will answer them, 'Whenever you failed to do one of these things to someone, that was me. You failed to do it to me.' Let me explain. There are distinctions between the goats situated on the left and the sheep on the right of Jesus. Those on the left, the goats, are characterized by their lack of good deeds, acts of love, or charity. On the opposite side, those on the right are known for providing food and water to the needy, offering shelter in our homes, visiting the sick and imprisoned, and clothing those in need. It's fairly straightforward to understand who the goats on the left side during the final judgment will be, but there might be uncertainty about the identity of the sheep on the right side. What would be the modern day equivalent of providing food and water to the needy, offering shelter in our homes, visiting the sick and imprisoned, and clothing those in need? It's difficult to imagine providing food, drink, or shelter in one's home nowadays. It's not always possible, but let me break this down to you. The food and water that people need today isn't always food and drink for the body. It's food for their soul. Their minds are empty. They are sad. They are weak. Their soul is thin. It's lacking spiritual life. We need to provide them with the spiritual nourishment by giving them the Word of God. The water people need to drink today is God's water. Inviting them to your house doesn't necessarily refer to your physical home. Rather, it means inviting them into the house of God. Let's invite them to our church and become a part of our community. What about those who are ill? For example, who should we visit or help besides those who are physically ill and whom we can visit occasionally? There are people today who are sick in their souls. There are people who have lost their peace, people who live in anxiety or have depression. There are the sick ones we need to visit and try to help. As for the imprisoned, they are not only those physically in jail, but also those trapped by an addiction, a sin, or a difficult situation. We can't always change their lives, but many times we can do something. Visit them, have a conversation, or guide them to a place where they can receive help to overcome their struggles. You don't have to be a priest to do this. You can invite many people to come closer to God. I think that's the invitation, to be God's sheep, because Jesus says there are those who care for others and then those who don't. We can't ignore that fact. We can't just think about ourselves, only about me, my family, my children, and my friends, because then we will become the goats on the left. We have to think about others. Now, you can't change the world, you can't fix the world, but we can do something to help. Let's start today's prayer with a few questions. What can I do to guide your children? How can I spiritually fill one soul with God's fruit? Can you lead me to those in need to invite them to your house? Take a moment to let these questions settle in, allowing God to speak to your heart. Have a blessed day.